The support strut slipped, and for one heartbeat, I thought it would crush my hand against the rig frame. I caught it on instinct, muscles screaming, boots skidding across loose gravel. 30 kilos of alloy hung in my grip, and somewhere behind me, I heard a sharp intake of breath that did not belong to any of my crew. I turned, still holding the strut, and found her standing at the edge of the platform. 4 meters tall, plated skin the color of dark amber, eyes like molten gold with no pupils I could find. Commander Vera Doss, leader of the Thresh-bound envoy that had landed on our colony a month ago, supposedly to negotiate mineral rights. I set the strut down and rolled my shoulder, trying to look like my arm was not on fire. "You held it," she said. Her translator collar flattened every word into something cold and precise. "Alone, with ease." "Wouldn't call it ease," I said. "But yeah, I held it." She stepped closer, and the ground seemed to shrink under her presence. The rest of my crew had gone quiet, tools frozen mid-motion, because when a Thresh-bound commander walks toward you with that kind of focus, you do not keep working. "I have watched your kind for 31 days, she said. "You do not have our strength. Your bones are thin. Your reflexes are slower than ours by a measurable margin. And yet you keep pace with tasks that should break you. And when they do break you, you return the next day and do them again. That's called a work ethic," I said. "Or stubbornness. Depends who you ask. I call it a trait worth binding to my line." She tilted her head. "You will become my mate." I laughed, because it sounded like a joke, the kind of thing you say to unsettle a stranger and see how they react. But her eyes did not shift, her posture did not soften, and the silence that followed told me she meant every syllable. "That's not how this works," I said carefully. "Where I come from, you don't declare a mate, you ask. And usually the answer depends on a lot more than lifting heavy things." "Explain," she said. "Not a request. An instruction." I glanced at my crew, who were very suddenly interested in inspecting bolts they had already inspected twice. No help coming from that direction. "There's a process," I said. "You spend time with someone, you learn what they value, you earn trust before you earn anything else. It's not instant, and it's definitely not decided by one person alone." Vera considered this, mandibles clicking softly, a sound I would later learn was her version of thinking out loud. "Among my people, strength decides bonds. The strongest are chosen, and the chosen do not refuse, because refusal insults the offer." "I'm not insulting anything," I said. "I'm telling you how my people do it. If you want this to mean something, you do it my way first." Her collar buzzed faintly, translating a pause that felt heavier than words. Then she said, "Teach me your way. I will observe until I understand it. Then we finish this conversation." I should have said no right there. I should have walked back to my crew, picked up the strut, and let the moment die on the platform where it started. But something about the way she said "teach me," not a command this time, almost a question, made me hesitate long enough for the moment to take root. "Fine," I said, "but you're not observing from a distance. You're doing this properly, or not at all." That was how it began, and within 2 days the entire colony knew about it. Because nothing spreads faster on a small outpost than the news that a human engineer is being courted by an alien commander 4 times his size. The first real trouble came on day 3, when Vera insisted on joining me during a supply run to the outer ridge, a task normally reserved for 2 people and a loader vehicle. I told her it was routine. I did not tell her that the ridge had unstable rock shelves that occasionally gave way without warning, because I assumed a species with reflexes faster than mine would have nothing to fear from a loose rock face. I was wrong. We were halfway across the ridge when the ground beneath the loader cracked with a sound like a rifle shot. The vehicle tilted, its rear wheels dropping into a fissure that had opened without any of the usual warning signs. I grabbed the emergency brake, but the loader was already sliding, dragging both of us toward a drop that fell at least 40 meters into a ravine choked with jagged stone. Vera moved faster than I thought possible. She threw herself against the loader's frame, digging her clawed feet into the rock, using her own body as an anchor, while I scrambled out of the cab. For one terrifying second, I thought the whole ridge would collapse under both of us. But she held, muscles straining, plates on her arms cracking under the pressure of holding several tons of sliding metal. I threw myself toward a jut of stable rock, caught the edge, and turned back just in time to see her release the loader and leap clear as it finally gave way and vanished into the ravine below. The crash echoed up from the depths, metal folding against stone, and then silence. We lay there on the ridge, both breathing hard, both alive by margins so thin they barely counted as margins at all. That, she said, once her collar found its voice again, was reckless. You're telling me, I said. I didn't know the shelf was unstable. I should have checked before I brought you out here. You did not know, she repeated, as if the concept surprised her. You endangered yourself for a task you did not fully understand the risk of, and then you did not hesitate to try saving me when the ground failed. That's what people do, I said. You don't leave someone hanging off a cliff because the situation got complicated. She looked at me for a long moment, gold eyes unreadable, and said nothing more the rest of the walk back to the colony. The following week brought a different kind of danger, one that had nothing to do with unstable ground and everything to do with politics. A second Thresh-bound ship arrived, carrying an envoy from a rival house, one that apparently disputed Vera's claim to negotiate on behalf of her people at all. Their leader, a broad-shouldered commander named Threll, made it clear within an hour of landing that he considered the courtship an embarrassment to Thresh-bound tradition, and that he intended to end it by any means available. He challenged me directly, in front of the colony's central hall, demanding a contest of strength to settle whether a human was fit to be claimed by any Thresh-bound commander at all. I tried to explain that this was not how humans settled disagreements, but Threll made it clear that refusal would be read as an admission that Vera's judgment could not be trusted, which would cost her standing among her people permanently. I looked to Vera, expecting her to intervene, to explain the rules of engagement to her own kind on my behalf. Instead, she simply said, "The choice is yours. I will not force you into a contest you do not wish to enter." That was the moment I understood how far she had already moved from where she started. A month ago she would have ordered me into the challenge without a second thought. Now she was leaving the decision entirely in my hands. "I'll do it," I said. Not because he demands it, because I choose to. The contest was simple in design and brutal in execution. A sustained pull against a mechanical resistance rig, calibrated to test endurance rather than raw power, since raw power was never going to favor me. Threll expected an easy victory. What he did not expect was that human endurance, trained through years of labor exactly like the kind that had first caught Vera's attention, could outlast Thresh-bound muscle when the contest stretched past the first few minutes. I do not remember most of the contest itself, only the burning in my arms, the roar of the crowd fading into a dull hum, and the moment Threll's grip finally failed before mine did. When the rig powered down and declared the result, the silence in the hall was so complete, I could hear my own pulse in my ears. Threll did not take the loss well. He accused me of using some hidden human trick, some device or advantage smuggled into the contest, and he moved toward the rig with clear intent to dismantle both the result and possibly the rig itself. Vera stepped between us before I could react, her voice cutting through the hall in a tone I had not heard from her before, sharp and absolute. "The contest was fair," she said. "You lost because you underestimated him, as I once did. That failure is yours to carry, not his to answer for." Threll left the colony within the day, his ship departing without further ceremony, and with him went the last real threat to whatever this strange courtship had become. That evening, Vera found me alone on the platform where all of this had started, the same spot where she had first watched me hold a strut steady against gravity, that wanted it gone. She did not speak right away, and for once, I let the silence sit, instead of filling it. I came to your world seeking strength to bind to my line, she finally said. I believed strength was the only thing worth claiming. I was wrong. What I found was something that does not announce itself through size or force, but through choice, made again and again, even when the outcome is uncertain. That's called character, I said. Took you long enough to notice. I notice now, she said, and I ask, properly this time, in the manner you taught me. Will you choose to stand beside me, not because I demanded it, but because you wish to? I looked at her, this commander who had once tried to claim me like a resource, and had instead learned, slowly and without shortcuts, what it meant to earn something freely given. Yeah, I said, I choose that. She did not smile, not in any way a human would recognize, but her collar carried something warmer into her next words, something that sounded almost like relief. Then let us see what this world builds next, she said, together, and by choice. The ridge wind picked up around us, carrying dust across the platform where a demand had once stood in place of a question, and where a question, finally answered honestly, had built something neither of us expected to find among the stars.